Dreams and ambition are a powerful combination for success. But when they're joined by vision, wisdom, and character, we often see something more than success. We see greatness, and this was Levi Addison Ault. Lee Ault was born in Ontario, Canada in 1851, the son of a successful cloth manufacturer. He was bright, he was a good student, but from as early in life as dreams are formed, Lee saw himself as an industry leader, controlling an enterprise that would touch lives around the world. There were no classroom lessons that could match the excitement of his dreams, so I suspect the school bored him. Once he finished grammar school, Lee left Canada for the United States because he sensed this was where his dreams could take root the fastest. He could barely wait to begin building a life as a worker, a self-supporting, independent man among men, and he was just 17 years old. His first job was as a bookkeeper in Wisconsin, and by all accounts, he was very good at what he did. But there were those dreams. So he left the bookkeeping job to work for the Sheboygan and Fond du Lac Railroad. There his dreams were further stoked by the sheer volume of commerce he saw each day in trains carrying cattle, freight, lumber, coal, mail, produce, passengers, and the latest news. In 1875, Lee made another move, this time to join his brother Charles, who lived in Cincinnati. As good fortune would have it, Lee found work with a company making lamp black pigment, pitch, and rosins. In short order, he was the company's top salesman. And at the age of 25, Lee's dreams intersected with opportunity. He saw beyond the use of using lamp black as a simple pigment. He could see it being used on a much larger scale, in printing ink, but not just the run-of-the-mill printing ink. Lee believed he could manufacture inks that would be superior in quality to any of the blurry inks that were being used at the time. He had saved a little money, and he used it to experiment on how to make the highest quality printing ink. Within 2 years of arriving in Cincinnati, he started producing small quantities of ink, excellent ink. It was clear that his time had come. All he needed was capital. All he needed was Frank Wyborg. A few years earlier, Wyborg had come to Cincinnati for many of the same reasons as Lee. The two shared a similar drive and passion for success. Frank Wyborg put up $10,000 capital as an equal partner with Lee Ault, and on a hot July day in 1878, the Ault and Wyborg Company was launched. Lee was quick to tell anyone who asked that Ault and Wyborg would be the top producer and distributor of inks and lithographic supplies in America, maybe even the world. Their first plant was a small building on New Street in Cincinnati. Later, Ault and Wyborg moved to St. Bernard near Ivorydale. After 5 years, the business did so well that Lee took his wife on a delayed honeymoon trip to Europe. This, of course, only fueled the dream to expand internationally. And soon, there were Ault and Wyborg sales offices in Toronto, London, Buenos Aires, Shanghai, and Manila. In its early years, Ault and Wyborg capitalized on two innovations: the use of coal tar dyes to produce brightly colored inks and the introduction of lithography. Both developments helped to expand the ink business beyond the simple black product that had been produced for centuries. Around 1890, the company began using special organic lithol pigments to produce vivid colored inks. They were inexpensive and easy to use. Most important, they created crisp, bright colors for the first time. They became widely used under the name of US Reds and Reflex Blues. And suddenly, the high-quality lithographer's ink from Ault and Wyborg was in great demand in this country and abroad. The timing couldn't have been better. It was the turn of the century, a great period of printmaking, when newspaper lithographs, sheet music, poetry broadsheets, glossy magazines, and posters were the predominant mode of graphic expression. Ault and Wyborg was in the center of the action, and even leveraged the excitement of the era with an ingenious and edgy marketing campaign featuring the works of Toulouse-Lautrec and other artists of the day. The Ault and Wyborg plant was first in America to manufacture intaglio or rotogravure inks, steel die and mimeograph printing supplies, carbon paper, and typewriter ribbons. The company was also known for its progressive treatment of employees. Lee stressed the shared responsibility of the employer and employees for good, honest work practices. Ault and Wyborg workers were among the first to enjoy benefits such as pension plan, profit sharing, and paid vacations. By 1928, when Lee retired and sold the company, Ault and Wyborg was the international leader in the inks field, with plants and operations on 4 continents. It was just as he had dreamed it would be decades earlier.
When he retired, he decided, I've done a nice job in my corporate life, but I have to do something else. So in the early 1900s, 1905, 1908, I'm not really sure when it was, Lee was asked by the mayor to create a park system for this community. At the time, we had approximately 400 acres in the park system, but the mayor provided Lee with an opportunity to expand not only the parks, but the acreage in those parks. And when he retired from the park board, where he was chair for many years, we had over 2,200 acres of parks, 70 parks, and while Ault Park, the contribution of some 200 or 300 acres that Lee provided to this community was important and remains a milestone for us. The entire park system should be deeply indebted to this man of vision, who didn't stop with his successful career, but who said to this community, I have to do something more.
This explains why Lee is known as the father of the Cincinnati parks. As a resolution by the park board once noted, quote, "If you seek his monument, look about you," end quote. Lee's love of beauty also led him to be a generous but quiet benefactor of the Cincinnati Art Museum and the Institute of Fine Arts, which we now know as ArtsWave. But for all the accolades and recognition that Lee Ault received during his life and beyond, few describe the true character of the man as clearly as the letters he received from employees on his 75th birthday. More than 300 Ault and Wyborg employees from around the world wrote personal notes of congratulations to Mr. Ault. This surely must have pleased L.A. Ault, because it helped to affirm for him then, and for us now, not just his measure as a successful man, but as a great man. We want to thank the selection committee for the honor of including our great-grandfather